Hey guys, Justin here with JHart Modelworks. It is time for another update on Tamiya's 1/24th scale Ferrari 360 Spider. We've got a lot done, but we don't have a lot done. It's one of those videos. But we are going to go ahead and take a look and see where we're at. Before we do that though, we are going to have a quick update on the channel because I've got some stuff coming up that's going to cause like some delays in some videos. As well as I've got some pretty cool news coming in as well. So I want to talk about that. So let's go ahead and roll the intro and we'll get into it. Alright guys, so before we get into the Ferrari update, like I said in the intro, I do want to discuss some stuff that's going on in my world right now because a lot of that's going to have an impact on the channel for the next couple of weeks, and there's going to be a delay in me actually putting out any content for a little bit. It's currently around 12-ish in the morning on Sunday, April 7th. Now, I just put out the video yesterday morning on the Showdown show that I attended in March, but that's all I have done model related all weekend. It's all I'm going to be able to do all weekend, to be honest with you. As I've said on the channel a few times now, we're having major foundation repair done on our house. That's being done the week of April 15th. They're going to put in like 27 or 30 piers, so they're going to have to do a lot of work in the house. We can't be in the house for that whole week, and there's a lot of work that has to be done to get the house ready for them. All of my models have been boxed up and have been moved into a storage facility. That has me kind of nervous, moving all of my models. Hopefully everything comes back home in one piece. But that's done. We had to get all the pets vaccinated, make sure all the vaccinations are up to date because we're going to have to board all the pets. We've got 2 dogs and 2 cats here in the house right now. We've got to get those boarded up for a week while we're out. We have to do hotel accommodations for us, which I still don't have sorted out yet. Get the garage cleaned out, finished. I got that mostly done, but there's still a little bit that's going to need to be finished up so they have full access to the garage. Clean some rooms up, reorganize, move some furniture around, stuff like that. Bunch of stuff like that. Big stuff, we have to take the TV off the wall because they're going to be raising and lowering the house, and if in that process that TV could rip off the wall and take a huge chunk of wall with it. The mantle, which is underneath the TV, is only sitting on the wall by a French cleat, and that's going to have to come down so that doesn't rip the wall down too. All of my daughter's paintings, pictures, anything fragile needs to be kind of squared away and taken off the walls. Things like that, just a ton of little things that have to be done. Now, while I'm working on trying to get that done, my wife for the last 2 weeks has been spending every moment not at work has been spent on an estate sale for her mother's estate because her and her sisters are trying to get that handled. So she's been crazy busy with that. All this weekend is being spent on that estate sale because this weekend is the estate sale. So I'm getting no build time done at all because everything is just all day at the house doing that. So there's going to be a gap for a little bit. Once we get the house squared away and the foundation is done and we get moved back in, we got to get everything sorted out from them tearing up the floor and the house and whatever. So there's going to be a gap. Sadly, I'm just not going to have the time to make videos or do anything on that for a little bit. There is a video I need to make, and it's probably going to be the very first video that gets made when I come back. And that has to do with some really cool news about the channel. I'll probably tell the whole story later, like when I do the video. But while talking to Brian at Got Fuel's Model Car Garage, I was telling him I was really interested in picking up an Iwata. I wanted an Eclipse HPCS. And I know he sprays a couple of Iwata brushes. And he was telling me, he was like, Justin, one of my subscribers sent me this Gallery Swallowtail, which is a pistol grip airbrush. I don't really care for pistol grips. It's just not it's a preference thing. It's nothing against them. I just, I prefer the pen style airbrush. But he was like, dude, I absolutely love this thing. It is amazing. So I was looking at their website, at some of their other brushes, at some of their normal, the pen style airbrushes. And on a whim, I reached out to them about possibly reviewing a brush. They had me fill a little form. I figured, worst case scenario, they'll tell me no. Or they'll do what, Alpha Models did and say, yeah, we'll let you know, and then just never get back to me, which is essentially just telling me no without having to come out and say it. But that's beside the point. So, they had me fill out this form, ask me what my socials are, and then I get a message back and they're like, hey, yeah, we looked you up and we would really like to work with you. So Gallery is sending me an airbrush to review. I don't know exactly what they're sending me. I think it's a Mobius. We will see whenever that gets in, and I will definitely be getting a review up on that. If I like it, this is probably going to be replacing out the Omni 4000, which started its life out as a UMP Apex. They're the exact same brush, by the way. One of their kind of lower end airbrushes. It's not a bad brush. I mean, I've been using it for years and it's done good. I just want to step up to something better. And if this is better, I will definitely be letting you guys know. This will be a brush that you'll be seeing a lot more of. So that's really cool. I've only had like one other sponsor before, and that was Charlie from ProTech. He sent me a bunch of stuff to use on the Chevelle build. So this is my second actual sponsored product, and this is it's kind of a big deal for me. I'm kind of excited. So thank you very much, Gallery. I appreciate the opportunity, and that's going to be about it. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to do anything for a little bit. When I do start getting a video back up, I'm going to start with that review for Gallery, and then we'll probably try and wrap up the Ferrari as quickly as possible so that we can move on to something else that I want to do as well. But let's go ahead and get the camera flipped around and take a look at where we're at on the Ferrari 360 Spider. All right, so onto the Ferrari. As of right now, every single part, as far as I know, has been painted and is ready to be assembled. Usually I build in like little segments, like I'll do the body, I'll do the engine, I'll do the chassis, I'll do the interior, and I'll just kind of paint and prep parts as I go in little sections. Right now, everything is ready to go. We're going to go ahead and start with the interior tub, which I showed you I had mostly done in the last video, but I was having a conundrum in that last video. I was trying to make a decision on the seatbelt colors. Now, the choices I were looking at were red, which I didn't really like the bright red, black, and yellow. The majority of the response was go with the black, which I didn't do. I liked the yellow better, and I went with it, and it looked really nice. The yellow looks really good, as you'll see in this photo here, when it's just the interior tub. Once you get the interior tub with those belts kind of dry fit up into the body, like you see here, they stick out more than I'd like, which is kind of silly because the whole reason I like them is because they popped really well. They stood out. Those bright yellow belts in that dark red and gray interior screamed, look at me, look at me. But once you get it on the body, they just don't fit with the rest of the build. One of the other suggestions made in the comments section was gray. Now, I don't have any gray seatbelt material. I went looking online on eBay to the two shops that I buy ribbon from that I use for my seatbelts. I use 1/16 inch ribbon, which is 2 millimeters, and they didn't really have a gray. They had a silver. And looking at the photos, it looked more of like a dark grayish metallic than a bright silver. So I went ahead and picked some up. It was like $4. And this is what that looks like, which I was pretty happy with, because this is, honestly, this is real similar to the body color. So I tried these out and I like these. I really do. You're going to ask, what's with the tape over the interior tub? That is to keep my big old grubby thumb from hitting the gear shifter and breaking it off, because I've already had to remove the first one and put in a new one. Thank goodness I can just 3D print them, because I got my big old thumb in there and I broke off the gear shifter. But these are the silver seatbelts in there, and I think that looks, it still has that pop. They still stand out. They don't disappear like the black ones do. I also picked up the red. So I picked up the wine red, which I'm not going to be using on this build. It just doesn't quite look right in this build. But I am going to be using this red in, I believe, the next one. So that is an awesome looking ribbon as well. I do not know why my camera keeps shifting back and forth like that. I wish I could find out what this setting is that's making it do that and make it stop, because it's really annoying me. Anyhow, back to these seat belts. So I really like these seat belts in this metallic gray is what I'm calling it, because that's not a silver in my opinion. But I really do like these a lot better than the black. The black just kind of disappears, and the yellow is just too much. So this is still bright, it still pops, but it doesn't scream like the yellow does, and it doesn't really clash with the rest of the car. Now, we do have the brakes in yellow, and I just cannot change them because I can't get the brakes off of the suspension anymore to change them. So I might have considered doing them the same color as the stripes, but that's not going to happen. So the rears are done in the yellow as well, so they kind of match up. So that is our finished, completed interior tub. And when you dry fit this up into the body, it should sit something about like, yeah, about like that. And that's going to look really, really good. I'm really happy with how that looks. I'm a lot happier than I am with the yellow. The decision was made on the wheels to go with the flat black, like you all suggested. You all were right. The flat black is absolutely the best choice. That's going to look fantastic. And another major component is our engine. This came out really, really nice. For the most part, it is Mr. Hobby Super Metallics Super Fine Silver. There are some other colors in there. There's, I believe this is titanium. And then I just went after it with some Alcloud Hot Metal Sepia and some Mr. Color Clear Brown to kind of get this kind of heat-stained metal look to it. Yeah, that looks really good. Now, modification-wise, pretty much the only thing I've really done so far is I have gone in and wired up all the coil packs, so those kind of disappear up underneath the intake plenum. But yeah, the engine is looking really good. And that all is going to connect up with our exhaust. This is all kind of tricky because these pins have to go into the chassis. There's two pins that have to go inside the top of the, I guess it's a muffler or exhaust or whatever that is. And then these cats back here need to go into these holes here, and that all kind of has to get lined up. But that all kind of looks just like that, and that looks really good together. Now this is super cool. The air filter boxes, which they're supposed to be semi-gloss black, like the whole back end is semi-gloss black. I wanted a different sheen on these, so I went with Alclad Steel over the Mr. Surfacer Black, and that gives me just a, it's still really dark. It still looks blackish. It's just got that kind of metally sheen to it. And then I have to keep this part here in a metal tin all by itself because the finish on this is incredibly fragile. There is our red crackle finished for our air intakes. I sprayed everything in Mr. Surfacer Black. I did the back end with the silver and the black and masked all of that off. I then sprayed a really wet coat of Mr. Surfacer 1500 white. While that was still very much wet, I poured the glass microspheres that I used on the dash in the GMA 250 video. I poured those all into that wet primer and let it dry. Then dusted off the remaining bits, tapped off all the excess, dusted it off, blew it off with the airbrush, tried to get as much of it off as I could that was loose. Sprayed 2 more coats of the Mr. Surfacer white primer to get it nice and white, and then hit it with 4 or 5 coats, I think, of the Tamiya's Pure Red in the LP line. I forget what the LP number is, but it's their Pure Red. And it gave me this awesome crackle finish. However, this finish is incredibly delicate. Just like basically you hit this with your fingernail, you're going to break a chunk off. So I'm being very careful with it, and I am keeping it safely tucked away into that little metal Altoid tin. But that is the bulk of our engine assembly. It's pretty much going to look just about like that. Which looks really, really cool to me. I don't want that thrown in the parts box because parts rattling around and hitting that are going to break that finish off. Once I get it glued onto the engine, I get the engine in place and I get all the framework around, because there's a lot of framework and suspension and stuff that has to go around it, the engine part, and then that gets put on once. So this drops into the chassis, and then this is all going to drop around like here. And then that air and plenum and stuff is going to stint over here. So all that has to get in. But once I get all of that in place and I get the body on, it's going to be well protected by the body. And I won't be as worried about that crackle finish getting, busted and hit and broken up. And for the most part, that's all the major stuff. All of our glass is painted up. There is the glass for our engine bay cover. There is the windshield. All of that looks fantastic. I'm super happy. I'm keeping these two kept nice and safe away from everything else. We have the rear brake assemblies. Those all look really cool. Now, the kit comes with white brake caliper labels. I stole the black ones from the Revell F430. So I will take the white ones from this kit and put them in that kit, and we'll see what we end up doing color-wise on that. But that's where we got these from, because the kit only comes with the white ones, but I thought the black ones looked better on the yellow. So I got all these I got new glasses, and with the new glasses came all these little glasses tissues. Our headlight assemblies are done. These should not actually be this orange. On the real car, they're not. There's a little bit of orange there because there's an orange bulb under there. There should not be that much orange. I followed Tammy's instructions and painted it clear orange. If I were to do it again, I would do less orange. We'll see, but there's no fixing it now. But these are going to pop in right here. Like that. That's going to look really nice once they're actually in place. Come on. Get in there. Alright. Close enough for hand grenades and government work. They're going to look something like that. We have also done the taillights. Tamiya tells you to paint the centers of the outer ones in orange. Don't do it. Just like the headlights on the real car, there is an orange tinge to them because there's an orange bulb back there. But on the real car, these are not orange. The outsides are reds, the insides are white or silver. You know, they've got like a silver backing behind the white, and there's just a hint of orange, and pretty much like only if you catch it at just the right angle. So I did not paint these in orange. That's one of those things, just don't follow Tamiya's instructions on the orange. There's just not on the taillights, not on the headlights. And the last thing I'm going to talk to you about, there are some clear parts in the kit. So there are these clear parts. There's one that goes in between the roll bars, and then there's one each that goes under the roll bars. Tamiya gives you some decals to go on top of these, which look like that. They look pretty freaking terrible. I thought this was supposed to be some kind of window tint, and that these were some kind of like a glass. They are a window deflector, but they're not glass. On the real car, these are a very fine mesh. So the way I did these, originally I had painted the clear parts up in Tamiya's smoke. Now, not the smoke from the acrylic. I used the LP's version of the smoke, cut with Mr. Leveling Thinner, and it lays down so much nicer than the acrylic version of Tamiya's smoke. It lays down a lot nicer than the TS spray can version of Tamiya's smoke. It just lays down really, really nice. Now, I did like 4 coats of it. The first one was like super light. You couldn't even tell it was really there, but it kind of made a tackiness to the surface. The next 2 I did were a little heavier than that, but they still weren't like wet coats. They were like mist coats, and it built up the color. The 4th or the 5th one I did like really wet, because I thought again that this was some kind of like a tinted glass, and I had not done the research. Once doing the research, I found out that this was a mesh and that it should not be glossy and clear. So I went ahead and I hit it with GX113, which is Mr. Color's super clear flat UV cut clear, and that gave me this frosted kind of matte finish that looks a lot closer to the actual mesh deflector units that come on the car. The window masks that come with this kit are okay. The windshield mask is not accurate at all. I think the windshield mask is actually from, it does not match the real car, and it doesn't match the lines that they have on the windshield. So I kind of like got it in place, and then I filled in some of their holes, because they've got like an indent that isn't on the real car, and it's not on that glass. It doesn't match up with their lines, but it gets you close enough. The masks were pretty good, so after I did the smoke, I let that dry for a couple of hours, got it nice and cured up, and then I masked it off with the masks in the kit and sprayed the Mr. Surfacer Black around the edges. It gives us a nice little rubber trim look there. Those look awesome. Alright guys, so that is going to be a wrap for this video. I know it's a little long, especially for not having what appears to be a lot of progress done, but there is really a lot of stuff in there. Most of this is just waiting to be assembled on me getting the ribbon in so I could sort out the seat belts, because a lot of it is really dependent on getting the interior tub in place. And I didn't want to do that until I had the seat belts fixed and had like a better looking seat belt in there. Now that that's done, I can get that in place and then get the engine to go in there, and then get the rest of that frame and suspension on the back end, and just kind of everything will flow once I can get back to building again. Thanks for hanging out with me. I always appreciate you guys watching, and it's going to be a busy couple of weeks, but I will catch you when I get the next one out.